Well, I want to thank the gentleman from Colorado because I have all of the same questions and all of the same concerns, and so it's very appropriate that we're coming together to ask what are they afraid of, what are they hiding, because there's a lot of red flags. Last night, Mr. Perlmutter, I was at the Washington Press Club event, which is a fun event to celebrate the free press. Best joke of the night, and there's a lot of humorous material, best joke of the night was when someone said, you know, for a guy that claims he doesn't drink, President Trump sure loves a lot of white Russians. Brought the house down. Unfortunately, though, it's not really funny, because when you've got a president who won't impose the sanctions that we authorize him to impose, who won't direct his State Department to spend the funds to protect our election system that we authorize and appropriate, when you have all of these other problems, it's not clear that he's able to do his job without fear or favor, and that's a big problem for our democracy and for the interests of our country. And if Congress were doing its job right now, we would be asking the hard questions to bring forward the transparency that the people need, to give this country the assurance that their government officials, including their president, can perform their job without fear or favor. But unfortunately, this body is not doing a very good job of asking those hard questions. So that's in part why we're here, trying to raise some of these issues. And one of the very important questions that I think we have to ask involves the ties between the NRA, yes, the National Rifle Association, and this Trump-Russia scandal. Specifically, we need to know whether Russia worked through the NRA to illegally move funds in support of the Trump campaign. Here's what we do know. We know that McClatchy and others have reported that the FBI is actually investigating whether Alexander Torshin, deputy governor of Russia's central bank and NRA's main liaison in Russia, used the NRA to funnel millions of dollars to support Donald Trump's candidacy in 2016. We know that in 2016, Donald Trump Jr. had dinner with Torshin, who is a close ally of Vladimir Putin, also is someone accused of money laundering. And they had that dinner at the NRA convention. We know that the NRA spent tens of millions of dollars on the 2016 elections, including $30 million to support Donald Trump. That's 3 times what the NRA spent to support Mitt Romney when he was the Republican nominee just 4 years prior. So we need to think about and ask this question, where did all that money come from? We've asked the NRA won't tell us. Now, we know that in testimony to the House Intelligence Committee, there are indications that Russians made a very concerted effort to work through the NRA. And that's why Senator Ron Wyden has asked the Treasury Department, again, because the NRA won't answer these questions, but he's asked the Treasury Department for more information about suspicious Russian funding of the NRA. So just to recap a few of these things that we need to be asking about, we know how close President Trump is to the NRA. We know how close the Russian banker Alex Torshin is to the NRA. We know how close the NRA is becoming, closer and closer to Russia. In fact, I have a piece here that explains how in 2015, a series of top NRA officials, including one of their top donors, past presidents, a delegation that included Donald Trump's high-profile surrogate, Sheriff David Clark, they all went on a so-called fact-finding mission involving gun rights in Russia. Now, there aren't a lot of gun rights in Russia. Russia has very restrictive gun laws, and there's no serious effort in the country of Russia to change that. But nevertheless, apparently this group felt they needed to go to Russia for this fact-finding trip to cozy up with some of these same folks that we're talking about. So that's one of the things we know and we need to ask questions about. We know that the NRA spent this huge cache of money on the 2016 campaign to support Donald Trump, and we know that we have more questions that need to be answered. So we need to follow this money, and we need to find out, again, as you have asked here on the floor, what are they hiding? What are they afraid of? With that, I'll yield back.
Well,